Yo, real talk. How many times have you scrolled past a champ in your roster, thinking, man, they're probably trash? Yeah, we've all done it. But guess what? You might be sitting on some absolute beasts without even knowing it. So in this one, we're putting it all together. Every single class, all the underrated champions, one big video. Skill, science, tech, cosmic, mystic, mutant, we're covering everything. Some of these champs hit like a truck, some have insane utility, and some just need the right playstyle to go from meh to holy sh**, this champ's broken. And yo, if you think we missed anyone, drop a comment, because if enough of you call it out, we'll crank this up to a top 10 for every class. Also, hit that subscribe button. You know you don't want to miss more breakdowns, deep dives, and absolute bangers to help you dominate this game. All right, enough talk. Let's get into it. Mutants, one of the most stacked classes in Marvel Contest of Champions. Look, everyone knows that Onslaught, Archangel, and Mr. Sinister are straight up gods in this game. But what about the champs that don't get nearly enough love? That's where this list comes in. These are the hidden gems in the Mutant class. Champs that might be sitting in your roster collecting dust when they should be wrecking fights. And remember, this list isn't set in stone. Drop a comment if you think someone else deserves a spot. And we'll expand this to a top 10 later on. Just make sure your pick is available as a 7-star. All right, let's jump into it. Gambit hits like a truck. His prowess stacks turn his specials into nukes. But here's the thing, he needs those crits to really shine. That's why stat focus is a game changer for him. More crit chance equal more insane damage. And if you know how to stun lock opponents in the corner, yeah, fights are over before they even start. People sleep on Gambit, but he's got some serious firepower. 4. Dani Moonstar. Yo, Dani Moonstar is a walking cheat code if you actually take the time to learn her rotation. She's got insane energy damage, crazy utility, and she just straight up destroys opponents in the corner. People don't talk about her enough, but trust me, if you master her playstyle, she's a monster. 3. Northstar. If you love Quicksilver, you need to give Northstar a shot. This dude is fast, and his damage is crazy when you stack crits. That's why stat focus is a must. It helps him land those big hits more consistently. You can just spam specials and keep your opponent on lockdown. People sleep on him, but once you try him, you'll see why he's on this list. 2. Storm Pyramid X. Storm Pyramid X is one of the most underrated mutants in the entire game. She's got it all. Massive damage, passive stun, unblockable specials, and even an evade counter. Her special 2 is a one-shot machine. Stack prowess, charge heavy, let it rip, and watch your opponent disappear. And if they somehow survive, do it again. She's been underrated for way too long. 1. Deadpool X-Force. All right, let's talk about this man because people did him so dirty before his buff. But now, he's a certified killer. The damage, the utility, the ridiculous Special 1 spam. He went from being a joke to one of the best underrated mutants in the game. If you're still ignoring him, you're missing out big time. And hey, I'll be making a separate video on his best rotation, so if you want to see that, make sure you're subbed and got those notifications on. Top 5 underrated skill champions in Marvel Contest of Champions. All right, let's get real for a second. We all know the meta favorites, the ones that get all the hype, all the rank ups, all the love. But what about the absolute bangers that people just ignore? You've got hidden gems chilling in your roster, collecting dust when they should be wrecking fights. So today, we're putting respect on the names of 5 underrated skill champions that deserve way more love. And remember, this list isn't set in stone. Drop a comment with your pick for the most underrated skill champ, and if they're available as a 7-star, they might just make it into the top 10 update. All right, enough talk. Let's get into it. Number 5, Massacre. Bro, Massacre is an absolute menace. If you're not using him, you're missing out on some of the most satisfying burst damage in the game. Here's how you break the game with him. Ignite the bat. Stack up Incinerates. Launch Special 2 into block. Watch their health bar evaporate. That's it. That's the cheat code. And I get it. His playstyle is different, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be deleting opponents left and right. The damage is insane. The utility is solid, and his block-breaking SP2 is just disrespectful. This dude should not be this underrated. Try him out and thank me later. Number 4, Hawkeye. I need to know, why is nobody talking about Hawkeye? I get that Kate Bishop stole the spotlight, but come on, this dude literally trained her. After his buff, Hawkeye became an absolute monster. And if you master his perfect release timing, you're gonna see some disgusting crits and control. Insane bleed damage, easy slow debuff on heavies. Bye-bye unstoppable. God tier power control. His damage, control, and utility are all nuts. He's a battleground sleeper pick, and if you're not using him, you're missing out big time. 3, Black Widow, Deadly Origin. Look, I've been saying this forever. Deadly Origins is slept on, and I don't get why. Her gameplay is fast, aggressive, and highly satisfying. You just gotta stack those shock debuffs, stay on the offensive, and watch fights end in seconds. She's also a Battlegrounds monster. If you like quick fights, big damage, and an aggressive playstyle, she's a must-have. She's way better than people give her credit for. Black Panther, Civil War, is an absolute beast now. His damage is nuts, his utility is crazy, and as a 7-star, he's 100% worth investing in. The only reason people don't realize his potential is because not enough people have ranked him up. But trust me, once you do, you'll see what I mean. One of the best recent buffs, hands down. Silver Sable? Alright, I'm just gonna say it. Silver Sable is absolutely busted, and nobody is talking about it. She's basically skill class Domino, and she melts defenders like butter. And the best part? She's an automatic photon counter. If you're sick of dealing with that annoying defender, just bring Silver Sable and delete her. Her critical shocks hit hard, her playstyle is smooth, and honestly, she's just fun as hell to play. Silver Sable is an underrated GOAT, so there you have it. 5 skill champions that are way better than people realize. Yo, listen up. You are straight up sleeping on some monsters in Marvel Contest of Champions. I get it. We all chase the biggest damage dealers, the broken meta champs, the ones that make fights look like a joke. But here's the thing. This game has over 300 champions. And in this rush to grab the absolute best, some certified beasts are just sitting in your roster collecting dust. Welcome to Underrated Champions. This is my top 5 underrated 7-star Mystic champions in the game right now. And listen, this list is not final. If you think someone else deserves a spot, drop a comment. If enough people agree, we're expanding to a top 10. All right, let's get into it. Number 5, Diablo. Why did y'all forget about Diablo? Back when he got his rework, I was using him every single day. That special 1 regen, smooth. That poison damage, disgusting. And when you start pausing those poisons with heavies, it's over. I get it. His regen isn't the craziest in the game, but it's consistent. It keeps you topped up just enough to keep pushing through fights. If you got a 7-star Diablo just sitting there, do yourself a favor, spam those SP1s, stack those poisons, and watch him cook. Number 4, Mordo. Stop sleeping on Mordo. Y'all still out here thinking Mordo is just some annoying defender? Wake up. On offense, this man is a problem. That Astral Evade lets you hold heavies longer, meaning you can build up stacks of Fury buffs. And when they start stacking, bro, you're gonna see some numbers. And let's talk power gain. This dude is loaded with it. Plus, he's got degen. And guess what? Almost no one is immune to it. So if you got a 7-star Mordo, take him out for a spin. Actually play him, and you'll see why he made this list. Number 3, White Tiger. This one hurts me, because I get why people ignored her. She dropped at the same time as Bullseye, and Bullseye just stole the show. But White Tiger, absolutely filthy. She's one of the best power control champs in the game right now, and she's been secretly dominating in Battlegrounds. The best part? She has one of the coolest ways to counter a special 3, and people just don't realize how powerful she actually is. If you got a 7-star White Tiger, take her into a fight and see for yourself. Number 2, Wiccan. Why does no one talk about Wiccan? Listen, y'all are way too obsessed with damage numbers and completely ignoring utility gods. Wiccan? He is a utility god. He's got reverse control immunity. Barely anyone has that. He applies shock damage, and his neutralize shuts down buffs hard. But if you actually take the time to learn how he works, Wiccan cooks. And if you still don't believe me, go watch my How to Use Wiccan guide, link in the description. Watch it, then tell me he ain't underrated. I dare you. Number 1, Satara. Bro, she is the most underrated Mystic champion. The design? Clean. The animations? Crisp. I genuinely do not understand why people aren't screaming about Satara. She has a super unique playstyle, and if you actually follow her ideal rotation, she absolutely obliterates. If you love champs that feel flashy, powerful, and just downright fun, why are you not playing Satara? If you got a 7-star Satara, take her into a fight right now and see why she's my number 1 most underrated Mystic champion. Top 5 underrated tech champions in Marvel Contest of Champions. Alright, let's be real. Everybody's out here chasing the god-tier tech champs. You pull a 7-star, and you're hoping for Prowler, Stark Spidey, or the recent sensation Arnim Zola. And if it's not one of them, you kind of just move on, right? But here's the thing. There are some champs in this class that people are just sleeping on. Champs that, when used right, can absolutely wreck fights. And the best part? A lot of these are available as 7 stars now. So yeah, you might already have an absolute beast just sitting there waiting for you to give them a shot. Let's talk about them. Top 5 underrated tech champions in Marvel Contest of Champions. 5. Civil Warrior. And I already know what you're thinking. Bro? Civil Warrior? Really? Yes, Civil Warrior. Listen, I get that he was mid before, but after his buff, he's actually solid. His SP2, it burns 2 full bars of power. That's insane. And here's the thing. Once you get 4 armor ups, bleed and poison immunity. That's massive. Pair that with his damage boost from Fury, and he's suddenly way better than people give him credit for. Not saying he's a top-tier god, but he's way more useful than people think. 4. Ironheart. And I swear she does not get enough love. First off, reverse controls? Not a problem. If you're the type to panic every time reverse controls kick in, guess what? She just ignores it. Same with Incinerate, Cold Snap, and Frostbite. Just keep an armor up active, and she's completely immune to all that nonsense. And she's tanky, like really tanky. She can take a beating, deal solid damage, and guess what? She's already a 7-star. If you pulled her and thought, I'll just leave her at rank 1, you might want to rethink that. 3. Lady Deathstrike. Okay, now we're getting into some real underrated champs. Lady Deathstrike is actually crazy. First off, she has 90% bleed and poison resistance, so instead of just being immune, she actually heals from willpower like a tank. And her rupture damage? Ridiculous. It stacks up so fast that your opponent just melts before they even know what happened. Oh, and you ever mistime a special attack dodge and take a hit? She just heals it up. You literally don't have to worry about chip damage with her. Seriously, if you have Lady Deathstrike and you're not using her, you're missing out. 2. Arcade. Alright, hear me out. Is not just a defender. I know. Everybody sees him and thinks, ugh, Battlegrounds placement champ. But nah, he's actually insane on offense. You ever tried heavy spam in the corner with this guy? It's actually disgusting. It kinda reminds me of Hulkbuster, but honestly, even smoother. Once you get in the rhythm, the opponent is just stuck. They can't do anything, and you're just smashing them into oblivion. Arcade on offense is low-key insane, and if you haven't tried him yet, do yourself a favor. And at number 1, we have to talk about Peony Parker. For some reason, people are underrating her now, and I honestly have no idea why. She's still one of the tankiest tech champs, and her SP2? Absolute destruction. If you time it right, it's lights out for your opponent. And let's not forget, poison and incinerate immunity. That alone makes her a clutch option in so many tough fights. But here's what makes her really crazy. Her heal block is one of the strongest in the game. She can completely shut down Nick Fury's second life. That alone makes her an absolute game changer. And if you ever get caught in a bad situation, that auto block can save your life. Peony's still an absolute beast, and it's time people started giving her the respect she deserves. Top 5 underrated science champions. Alright, now let's jump in. Number 5, Luke Cage. Luke Cage is one of the strongest bleed immune champions in the game, and I swear some of y'all forgot he even got buffed. His damage skyrocketed after his rework, yet he's still slept on. Before, he had a low chance to apply exhaustion on light attacks, but now, 80% chance. That means more damage, more utility, more domination. And let's talk about how tanky this guy is. If he's awakened, he's got that indestructible safeguard to save you from big hits. Stop sleeping on Luke Cage and start wrecking fights with him. Number 4, Spider-Gwen. Why is no one talking about Spider-Gwen? She's got insane corner control, crazy power control, and easy slow debuffs to shut down unstoppable champions. Plus, her heavy spam game is unmatched. After Special 2, you can chain heavies for days. She's a secret Battlegrounds weapon, but most people just don't realize it. If you haven't given her a shot, it's time to wake up and start melting opponents. Number 3, Morbius. This dude is an absolute monster, and I feel like no one talks about his Special 2 damage. That thing is a guaranteed crit, and if you've stacked double-digit bleeds before launching it, you're watching your opponent's health disappear. And let's talk about his psionic glide. When Morbius dashes forward, he ignores all incoming attacks and goes unblockable. That means you're hitting your opponent before they even react. It's so damn powerful, and people are seriously underrating this mechanic. If you have Morbius, use him. And if you're still unsure, check out my first impressions video from when I pulled him as a 7-star. I break down exactly why he's a hidden beast. Number 2, Spider-Man 2099. Alright, I know Spidey 2099 has his fans, but I still think he's criminally underrated as a 7-star. His rupture damage is insane, and his Special 2 hits like a truck. People tend to ignore him because he doesn't crit, but let me tell you, his damage output and utility make up for it. The fact that he doesn't rely on crits actually makes him even stronger in certain matchups. Let me know in the comments. Do you think he's underrated, or does he finally get the respect he deserves? Number 1, the Overseer. My number 1 pick for the most underrated science champion in the entire game, the Overseer. Ever since his release, people have slept on this man, and I don't get it. He's got crazy damage, poison immunity, built-in auto-block, and stun immunity when auto-block is up. That's a lifesaver in clutch situations. And let's talk about his damage. People forget just how hard this guy hits. If you're not using him, you're missing out on one of the best hidden gems in the game. Top 5 underrated cosmic champions. Now at 5, Angela. Angela has been underrated for ages. She might end up lower on the top 10 list later, but for now, she holds down the number 5 spot. Here's the deal. She needs to be awakened and at a decent sig level to really shine. But once you get her there, she becomes a debuff immune powerhouse as long as she has at least one buff active. And let's talk about damage. Angela hits like an absolute freight train. One of the highest damage outputs in the game. She's one of those champs that has been around for so long that people just forget how insane she actually is. But trust me, if you got a high Psych Angela sitting in your roster, you're sitting on a monster. 4, Vox. Alright, thanks to that 10-year anniversary supply drop, a ton of players got Vox as a 7-star for free. And guess what? That's when people actually started to realize how insane he is. This dude stacks buffs like crazy, which fuels his damage, making almost all of his hits guaranteed crits. And let's not forget his degen damage. Not many champions are immune to it, making it one of the most lethal damage over time effects in the game. His whole kit is just built to stack damage, and if you got him in that supply drop and haven't ranked him up yet, what are you even doing? 3, Nova. Alright, Nova has been called criminally underrated for years, and it's not even his fault. When he first dropped, people had sky-high expectations, thinking he'd be the best champion in the game. And when he didn't hit those god-tier levels, people just left him in the dust. But over time, players who actually gave him a shot realized how insane he is when played properly. He's got damage, utility, and even some defensive value. Once you actually learn his playstyle and use him right, he absolutely shreds. It's crazy how many people still sleep on him. Man, Gamora is one of the most underrated champions in the entire game. If you ask new players, they'll tell you, Gamora carries early game accounts. And it's not just because she's easy to use, it's because she has legit insane damage. And here's the best part, she scales like crazy. Even at low ranks, she can outdamage max rank champions just by keeping up her buffs and refreshing them with heavy attacks. That's it. That's the whole secret. And somehow, people still don't realize how ridiculous she is. If you haven't ranked her up yet, you are missing out. 1. Odin. And coming in at number 1, Odin. Man, people slept on Odin for so long, and it's honestly crazy. At first, players were only using him for synergies just to get those extra pre-fight buffs. But ever since his rebalance, he got a massive damage boost, and suddenly he went from a synergy champ to an absolute menace in battlegrounds. Once people actually started ranking him up and using him properly, they realized he's a total monster. Huge damage, tons of buffs, insane burst potential, the whole package. People just didn't give him a real chance before, and now it's clear they missed out big time. So there you have it. 5 cosmic champions that people have been sleeping on for way too long. And trust me, this list could easily go to 10. So if there's a champion you think deserves a spot, drop a comment. If we see enough hype around a champ, they're getting added to the top 10 underrated series. So let's get the conversation going. Who's your pick for the most underrated cosmic champ? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.